your time, right? So we value you guys coming in and want to make sure that you get something out of this. Our goal is for you guys to leave here with things you can implement to turn it into business. So we really, really appreciate that. Loan officers for our branch. We've got a couple of here and several of them online joining us. I'll skip Mitch. Alex is in the back. Daryl, Matt, Doug, Heath, Josh just joined our office, and then Matt and Chase. So if you are online or if you're here and you're invited by any of those guys, we're trying to, they're here just like us to bring you guys great guidance and great service. When you send us a client, when you send them a client, our goal is to not only take great care when you get them closed, but to turn them into a client for life for us and for you as well. Tell your loan officer, thank you for inviting me. And again, our goal is to build those relationships with you and the client and help you make more money. Today's topic: how to make an additional $54,720 a year
in the next 6 months.
In the next 6 months, that's a very specific number.
Who is intrigued by the title? Was anybody intrigued by it? Yeah. So it's a very specific number, and we did actually have a mathematical calculation of what we got there. So what we're trying to do, guys, is everybody has an income that you had last year, right? Who wouldn't like to make an additional $54,000 in the next 6 months that you weren't going to make? Right? Everybody, right? So it's pretty simple. The average sales price in Nashville is what? 400, 470, 420. We got different answers. So I just did 380. Okay. A 380 sales price at 3% commission. And then I just said 20% split to the company. Okay. Everybody's on different things. Everybody has different price points. But if you do that, it's about $9,100, $9,120 for one sale. Everybody agree that you make that around that on a sale is if you sell a house at 380, 400. If you do that one time more per month in the next 6 months, it's an extra $54,000 in income. Sounds pretty good, right? So what would you do? Think about it. You can close your eyes if you want to. What would you do with an extra $54,000 of income? Would you buy an investment property? Who wants to buy a rental property? Yeah. $54,000 is a down payment on a rental property, right? On most of them. Depends on how big it is. Would you pay off some debt? Would you fund the kids' school, right? The college fund, the education for your kid. Would you put it in retirement? Feel it, guys. What would you do with an extra $54,000? Not just $54,000, but an extra on top of what you're going to be making. Anyway, so next slide we're going to get into. So these are some stats from the National Association of Realtors. They're somewhat alarming. It says that 84% of clients said they would use the same real estate agent again. So your client that used you that just closed, 84% of the time, they said they would use that same agent again. The fact is only 12 to 17% did. In some cases, it's even less than that. Really. So why would 84% say that they would use them? What's up, man? And only 12 to 17% did. Why is that? Am I going to answer? Didn't stay in touch with them. Not top of mind, right? And it's why, no follow-up. They forget about them, right? So we're going to give you guys some things to do today that if you're not doing this, give you some things to implement so that that doesn't happen, right? You don't want to work for a client, have a great relationship. 2 years later, you see the for sale. Who's done that? 2 or 3 years later, you see the for sale sign in the yard. You're like, why is that not my sign? Well, maybe I didn't stay in touch with them like I should have.
We're going to go through a ton of different ideas. Take notes, write down all the good stuff that you hear, and then the goal is going to be to circle back and pick out 1 or 2 things to actually implement. Because we've all gone to conferences or heard things before, come back with a 2-page list of great items that we're going to put into our business. Try to put in 15 or 20 of them and realize 6 months later you actually didn't do anything. Picking out 1 or 2 things and implementing them at a really high level will actually change your business as opposed to trying to do 15 things and not accomplishing any of them. Does that make sense? So make a lot of notes. Then we're going to circle back at the end and highlight or circle 2 or 3 things that will make the biggest impact in your business. And we don't have an outline. We have blank paper, right? So take as much notes as you can. I always say when I'm listening to something, I try to take notes like I'm going to teach it down the road, right? Because that helps your body remember it. So why do we work our database?
We work our data race is pretty simple. We got 4 reasons up here, but to generate, to make more money and to generate referrals. It's the most inexpensive way to do this, right? Has anybody ever paid for Zillow or paid for some of these online leads? If it's very effective, it's very what? Expensive. Now you can get a whole bunch of leads for cheap, and what are those? They're not effective, right? You got to wade through 100 to find one that actually wants to talk to you. So people that are in your database, they're much easier to work with. Number 2, they're easier to close and more fun to work with. Less of a headache than a cold lead. And if you track your business, guys, up to 80% of your business as realtors can come from your database, right? And if you don't have a database, if you're newer in the industry and you don't have like 100 past clients that you've closed in the past, you have a cell phone. And we're going to talk about that, but that could be your database. So still take notes, and that sphere of influence is the exact same as your database. So guys, one question: what's easier, to find a new client or keep an existing one? Keep it existing. Why is that?
Relationship's already built.
Relationship's already built.
No, like and trust you.
They already know you, like you, and trust you, right? Everybody in your phone probably knows you and likes you. You have to build the trust as their realtor, right? They don't know you. Yeah, maybe you haven't been in the business long enough. I'm not sure. So you're building that trust all the time. So think about this. What if every client that you ever worked with only used you when they bought or sold a home and only referred you?
Sweet.
How big would your business be if that was the case, right? I was at a seminar and I heard a guy talk about that. He said, imagine your business if everybody you ever worked with only used you. Everybody that ever bought a medical device from Kevin's store never went to another place ever and only came to that store. How big would your business be, right? That's Amazon's goal. Once we get you, you never go anywhere else. But think about that. All these clients that we're working with, we can keep them in our fold and they work with us and they send us referrals, our business will really, really grow. You gotta get used to the clicker. So how do we do it? Like, you want to take the...
Yeah, we're going to work on the 4 steps, right? So the first thing is creating your database. I don't know. I've talked to realtors. We've taught this class. Continually, we see there's a new database that I'm switching over to, or I'm trying out a new one, or everybody's asking, well, what's the best one to use? We're going to talk about that, but the key is to just pick one and use it, right? Pick one, use it, learn it, but you've got to pick a database and then create it by adding new people to it.
So we'll go the 4, and then we're going to go deep into each one.
Correct.
So
yes, we are, Chris. So number 2, you're going to organize it. Then you're going to have to work on it daily, and you're going to have to grow it, right? Working on it and growing it is kind of the same thing. As you're working on it, your database should be growing all the time. So we're going to talk about that, but that is it's a living organism or document, right? Always adding people to it, removing people from it, but that database should always be growing. But it never stays stagnant.
yeah, so creating it, what system, right? Does it really matter? Who in here has an awesome system that they love? Top producer, what is it?
My brokerage platform.
Okay, brokerage has a platform for your database. Who else has a system they like? Anybody? Anybody have a database? Yeah, we use them.
I use Wise Agent. I've been super happy with them.
For what do y'all use? KV Core. KV Core? Yep, I've heard of that one. So,
Aaron Payne chatted that too. He said KV Core.
oh, cool. Online, we said the same thing. KV Core is a good one. So it doesn't really matter. You just have to pick one and learn it and use it, right? We're not here to advocate one over another. I think the more simple, the better. I think when folks try to get into really complex, like if you have a back office and you have a tech person that can work on it for you, great. If not, pick something that's simple that you can implement and you can use. If you use it, it works. If you don't use it, it's not gonna work. So who should be in your database and why? Number 1, guys, I'll be writing this down. These are the people you want to be adding to your database. Number 1 is your past clients, right? People that you've actually worked with. They automatically, after closing, they're in your database. Number 2 are your current clients. These are the folks that are under contract, that have a sign in the yard. Signs don't stay in yards very long right now. but they're your current clients, right? Maybe they're the ones that are pre-approved. You may be working with them for a while, right? If they're pre-approved and looking for something specific, it's a little bit more difficult to find what you're looking for. Number 3.
Hot leads. So anybody that's currently pre-approved and looking for a house, definitely be in that database. Hot lead could buy a house in a week. They could be still looking at houses 6 or 8 months later, right? Having them in that database will ensure that they don't get forgotten about or be forgotten. 4 is your business partners, right? When we talk about business partners, who are we talking about?
You,
Me,
Yeah.
yes, your lender, title company, home inspector. Who else? Painter, CPA, financial planner.
advisor.
Yeah.
pretty much anybody on your vendor list.
Yeah. And the reason we put those business partners in there is because hopefully we're marketing to them or we're doing certain things. And we take for granted that my, person at my title company or my CPA is going to refer me when they do an opportunity. And it's not unless we actually are marketing to them and asking for it. So you can go really, really, really wide with that. You're a photographer, you put your, even like hairdresser and things like that, people that you send business to or do business with should be in that database. Chris?
So next is friends. And some of that might overlap, right? Your business partners could also be your friends. So that's when you can get into your phone. Like the folks you went to college with, the people that you see at church, the people that you spend time with, your friends should absolutely be in your database. And family, right? Again, and that there's another here. Go through your cell phone and put people in your database that you love and call them.
Can I add one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Agents in other markets.
Agents in
Yeah,
other
that's a big
markets.
one. That's really big.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? How many people, are people moving to Nashville or migrating away from Nashville?
I think they're coming to Nashville.
To Nashville, right? Are they migrating away from or to California?
Let's say away.
Away, right? And everybody kind of knows that. So if you get some agents, some bigger agents in California markets, hey, I would love to be your Nashville realtor. We will absolutely pay a referral fee. Who would like to have those California buyers that are paying cash for $1 million houses? Right? It's a great way to do it. Do you have specific agents you work with in certain markets you can share? Or, yeah. And you too? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Comes right off if you go have lunch with an agent on vacation.
There you go.
Lunch. So I'll frequently just try to meet any agents on
Yeah.
a business trip, lunch trip, any trip.
And you write the whole vacation too?
No, I
Okay.
don't.
Very cool.
No.
There's another, there's a site called howmoneywalks.com.
Okay.
And what's really neat about it is you can put in, you navigate to their map and you can put in a location, an address, or zoom into the map. And specifically it'll tell you, coming to Nashville, where the money is coming from, what part of the country, what cities it's coming from. So if you have a spot you want to target and you're going, oh, these people are mainly moving from over this one city, you can either run Facebook ads, you can look at, agencies in that,
Nice.
in that area.
What's the name of that website again for the people online?
Yeah, it's called How Money Walks.
How Money
WALKS.
Walks.
Yeah.
How many walks is in walks.com.
Mhm.
And it researches people that are migrating to Nashville, if they're moving to the nations, where are they coming from? Are they coming from Chicago? Or are they coming from different areas of the country? So very interesting.
If you look at that website too, California is the market that comes to mind, but that's still kind of fading over in the red ocean. So there's lots of great markets like Pittsburgh and other places where there are still lots of people moving from, but it's not,
Talk about as much maybe. Or
correct.
Yeah,
that's
Correct.
absolutely. And like you said, you don't have to build a relationship with every agent in California. You build an agent with one and they send you a deal and they buy $1 million house. It pays off very quickly.
So I want to say real quick, the going through your phone thing, adding people to your database, I think you should add people that you like, that you would want to talk to. So if you're going through your phone and figuring out, this is probably something we should all do at least once a year, is go through and make sure that the people in our phone are in our database. Because you add people to your phone a lot, right? And what I never do is stop and say, let me drive to the office and open my computer and add this person to the database right now. I just save them to my phone, in person. I'm at a church that we like, and we're going to be friends with, let me like stop what I'm doing and add them to that database. I just forget. It might never happen. Well, like stopping and going through your phone and thinking, if I call this person right now, would I enjoy talking to them? If the answer is no, because we've had some of those on our phone, right? Like, don't add those people, right? If you don't want to actually have a conversation or sit down and have a cup of coffee, don't add them. There's nothing worse than going through your database and going, I don't really want to call her, and we don't really get along with him, and you're like skipping over people and not reaching out to them because, they're just not your favorite. Like, take those people out and look through and go, man, I like everybody in here now. But going through your phone and picking out the people that, if you were to sit down and have coffee, you're like, man, I would really love to have coffee with them right now. Or if I were getting married again, who would be on the guest list to the wedding? Because you would invite them to something like that, they should be in your database in your market, right?
Yep. So it's always evolving, always adding names and removing people, like Clint talked about. Next up, guys, is organizing it. So there are different sections of the database. We think that you should try to be number one, growing that overall database to at least 400 to 500 people. Okay. If you can get to that number, you will have a really good business if you work it, right? We're going to go into some stats in a little while about what percentage you can get each month from your database. But if you can go up to 400 to 500, and then you got the email database.
But before we go from the overall, when you say overall, what do you mean by overall?
That's the main database. That is like your past clients, the people from your phone, your pre-approved clients, the folks that you are bumping into.
And they get everything.
Yeah, they're getting everything. They're getting calls, mails. They're getting it all.
So is that 500 or less, or is it a minimum of 4 to 500?
I think you get to 400 to 500. I used to say don't go over 400 to 500. I think you should grow it now. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm old now. I've got more than 500 past clients, and I'm never going to take a past client that I helped buy a house that was happy. Just because they haven't used me in the last 6 or 7 years doesn't mean that they may not next year, right? So I've grown it way past that now over the years, and they, we mailed to them. And I had a lady that called me, talking to her on the phone. She's like, "Yeah, you pre-approved me a couple years ago, but we never did anything." I said, "Oh, that's great. Well, how'd you keep up?" She's like, "Well, I get all your junk mail, and I just appreciate you doing that and you keeping me." I was like, "Okay, well, really, that's awesome." I didn't remember, and I was like, "What? Was it like during the pandemic?" She's like, "Oh, no. It was like 2014." So like 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I guess now almost.
There's no way she's going to remember you if you were.
No way, right? And
We'll
she
remember him 8
was,
months later.
yeah. And I, I didn't remember her, but because she's getting the things that we do and she appreciates it, she called me back. She had gotten pre-approved and then something happened with job or relationship. Something happened where she's like, I'm not gonna buy a house. She ended up renting. And it was like, maybe not 2014, maybe it's 2016. It was a long time ago. And she came back and that's, why we do what we do, stay in touch with people. The email database. Is there any limit to the number of people if you've got their email? Any limit to the number of people you can hit send? No, right? So you can absolutely grow that. Has anybody done like Boomtown leads? Those type of leads? What's it, Inc? Commissions Inc? Stuff like that. You'll get a lot of emails that way. Some of them are bogus emails, some of them whatever, but leave them in there. You can email to them. We're going to talk about mailing. You can write a letter of the heart and physically mail it to your top people. If you've got 2,000 people, you can email it to them for free. Okay. And then you kind of got some subsections. I think for this class, number 3 and 4, you just combine it. It's your top 50 VIPs and past clients. It's the people that you really love, right? It's the best man in your wedding. It's the favorite client. Everybody have clients that like, you do a great job for them. They were super happy. Never said they're going to refer you. And it never happened. They never referred you. That happens, right? You also have clients that you love, do a great job for, same thing. You feel like you did a great job and they refer you 2, 3, 4 people a year. Different personality, right? The first person that doesn't refer, maybe he's not a top 50 VIP. The second person that does refer and is that kind of person, is connector personality, they go in your top 50, your VIP list, okay? So they're going to get a little bit extra love in the database.
And I want to say something. As your database, if your database is 300 to 400 people, you can maintain those relationships. Once you get to 700, 800, 1,000, probably 1,500 or so in Chris's, there's no way to maintain like really close relationships. And that's where these top 50 lists become super, super important. Because you've got to subsection people out that you want to make sure that you're staying connected with. You can't do that with 1,500 people in the database. You can't say I'm in close relationship with 1,500 people. So doing this, the subsections of the top 50s becomes so, so important. Starting out, just having it as one. I think it's important to do. I mean, I would say start with 10. If you've never done it, create a top 10 list and then have a goal of adding 2 or 5 people a week until you get to 25 or 50. And then once you get to 50, separate out the ones that are actually clients. And then you're going to have some that are business partners or friends that never used you, but they still refer you, that you want to love on. I always say love on them appropriately. So if you refer me 3 or 4 clients, I'm going to send you like something nice on your birthday, or I'm going to call you more often, right? I'm going to invite you to lunch or coffee, or we may have you over to our house for dinner. Not everybody in that database gets that same treatment, right? Because they don't all support my business the same way. So you need to acknowledge the people that are supporting your business the right way.
Yeah. And guys, one quick thing on here, you can add your target list here too, right? If you meet a CPA and you're like, I really like this person, they seem like they are, somebody I would love to work with, go ahead and put them on the VIP list so that they're getting the extra love. And if, nothing ever happens, you never do business with them, maybe they get removed off of it. But you can add people that you aren't currently doing business with on your VIP list too. All right, guys, working it. How do we work it? It's pretty easy, right? This is time to get on the phone. Okay. So Mondays, this is actually one that we do. We do this for loan officers too. Mondays, you would call your top 50 list. If you have 50 on your top 50, you would call 12 of them every Monday. Okay. That way they get called once a month. Does that make sense? Right. So if you got 50 on your top 50, you're going to call a quarter of them every Monday. Tuesday, what do we do on Tuesdays? Tuesday, what? Update, status calls. When you have people in contract, what's the biggest complaint?
Lack of communication.
Lack of communication, right? When there's a lack of communication, there's not going to be referrals. So Tuesdays is a great time to call your listing and say, hey, we had 25 people come by your house last weekend and we're searching through those offers and we're making that. Hey, the inspection came back. It's Tuesday updates. You call your buyers. This is what's going on in the market. I sent you, 14 listings last week. They're all sold. What are you looking for? Right? Give them an update. All your sellers and your pre-approved people, which is another day. But so Tuesdays is your status calls. Wednesday is your hot leads or your lead tracker leads. I think that is a massive thing that realtors don't get, guys. Like, does everybody keep a lead tracker? Mitch, how's a lead tracker changed your business over the last few years?
I can't imagine living without it.
So Mitch says he can't imagine living without it. There are 2 forms that we use in our business, and I started in 2011 with coaching. The greatness tracker tracks the number of people that I talk to and the number of conversations we have. And the second one was lead tracker. When you use those 2 forms, it will transform your business. Mitch, can you go back to October of 2020, look at your leads, how many you had, and say, oh man, that guy never bought a house. Maybe I should follow up with it. Yeah. So Wednesdays, you start with the most recent. You would go back through January, December, November, and call those hot leads. That guy that said he's buying a house. How many people, when you get them pre-approved, they can buy a house the next day? Most time that's not, right? It takes time because they're looking for a certain thing and things are hitting the market. They have to be educated. They think they can lowball for a while sometimes, right? I'm not going to pay full price. Who's had a client say, I'm not paying full price? They think it's a car deal.
Go over price?
Yeah, I can't imagine offering more than they're asking. That's crazy. Well, if you want to buy a house, it takes some time.
What's the system? I would love to hear, like, if you use something like a lead tracker, what did you use before that? If you don't use it now, how do realtors organize leads coming in?
Don't some databases have like that, like where you can organize your
Your leads.
warm, cold, hot leads?
Some databases do. Go ahead.
I would just love to hear from a realtor
Yeah.
what you actually do out in the room.
That's a big assumption. I'm sorry, I'm being funny. What did I do before?
Now I'd love to hear what you do now. Like when leads come in, like how do you organize? If you don't have a lead tracker, we have a lead tracker. What's the
We used to use this really complicated system called sticky notes. Sticky notes everywhere, like, oh my gosh.
You might
who's that
call
guy?
in, hey, his name is Joe, cool, let me write that down, what's that number, write it down. And then later, like the next day, you pick up a piece of paper, and you're like, Joe, who's Joe? What's that phone number?
Or especially 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
2 months later, like,
And you're like, oh, I don't even know who that is. He's on the way, you call them, they aren't even through. Sticky note system, not code system. Who's using the sticky note system right now?
That's probably me.
Roy's got it. So what were you saying? How do you do it now?
I have a mobile app, so I'll either do it right there while I'm doing it, it goes in, or I'll email them and it captures them and it goes into the database that way. Or like if I were circle prospecting, I'd love to say that it's something fancy, but I write it down in the same notebook every time. I don't use it's so crucial that it's this green, black one and a green one.
so if anybody kidnaps her notebook, she will pay a
Oh,
large
I
sum of
will.
money.
But I also have time blocks on my calendar to do it. A
Yeah.
weekly dump of the ones that I want jumping over.
Right.
So when we first started, that's how we used a lead tracker with a piece of paper.
Piece of
and
paper.
wrote it on. So you just wrote on it every single day. And then it became electronic and then it became internet based, but same process. I don't have to look around. I go to my green notebook, I open it up to the page and they're all there.
The key, we think, our team tried it different ways, to put it in the CRM, like every lead, it gets complex. Well, you can't just go see everything that's come in the last 2 weeks. You got to search and organize and move and all this stuff. Some people it works. We use Google Sheets, which is the same thing as an Excel sheet. Okay. But it's shareable, right? A Google Sheet, I can pull it up on my phone and show you every lead that's on there. I can put in a lead right here while we're talking. Like if somebody said, hey, Joe needs to call because he's looking to do this, I can put it in. As soon as I hit enter and I click out of that box, my team sees it on their end that something just popped up, right? So if you have a team, that shareable format is super important. And Google or an Excel that's also shareable is the easiest. Because if you're out and about, you can put it on your phone. When you get back to your computer, it's there. And you never lose it. You can see a whole month in a glance. You can scroll down and say, oh, I got 20 leads last month. We color code it. If anybody wants that lead tracker and would like to be coached on it, you come by the office. We'll give it to you, show you the system.
And it's just like Excel with tabs on the bottom. So February 2022, the tab is January 2022, December of last year. You just go back. So in literally 3 seconds, you can be looking at July of last year, looking for a lead to follow up with. Really easy.
A lot of people want it all in one place, like all in their database and track it that way. But just for what you explained, is like that's the perfect reason as to why I think I benefit from it having it in 2 spots. You put them on the lead tracker, and you're also putting them in your database. But
Right.
it's so much
Not all of
easier.
them, though. Some of them you never get a hold of don't
Right.
go in the database.
They don't go in the database. So but it's easy when you're just out and about to pull up your phone, pull up Google Sheets, and take a look at it, or add somebody rather than having like a lot of these databases. It's cumbersome. You can't just pull up your phone and boom, you're in.
Right.
So yeah.
Very cool. So Thursday is going to be your database calls. These are when you're calling through your database, which is really what we're talking about. We got a couple different systems. Letter of the week. If you call all the people whose last names start with A this week, all the people whose last name starts with B next week, you're going to call your entire database twice a year, right? That's a great system to use. I personally like to look at your database and say let's say you have 520 people in your database. Okay, that's 52 weeks a year. It's kind of easy math. If you call 20 a week, you call them twice a year. Okay, the reason I like that is because how many people's name starts with X? How many people's name starts with A? There's a few with A's, but how many people's name starts with T or S or R? When those weeks come up, you're going to be overwhelmed. And then the next week, you're going to get to Z or X or whatever. And you're like, oh, I've got 0 calls to make. Well, that's not good. I want every week to have an even amount of work, right? So figure out how many you've got, how many times you want to call them. I think you should call it at least twice a year, up to 4 times a year, once a quarter. Okay. And then Fridays, that's when you can cold call. You can call new business people, trying to get those new relationships. How many people work with a builder? How many people would like to work with a builder? Right? In order to do that, you got to have a list of builders to call on. You got to meet with them, tell them about what you do. You had worked with a builder for a while too. And in order to do that, you've got to have that system in place. Other calling opportunities, guys, anniversary calls, call them on the anniversary. They close. So if they bought say they close February of 2020, February the 10th. I don't think you have to call them on the 10th because that's hard. It could be a Sunday. But you can call all your February closings from 2020, 2019, 2028, like all the way back. Have a list and just say, hey, you closed this month 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Just want to call and ask you about the house. How are things going? Have you done any big improvements? And then call everyone around Christmas and New Year's. It's an easy call to make, not on Christmas or New Year's, right? But just that time of year, the holidays, Thanksgiving. Hey, we're thankful for you. Want to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Birthday calls are also really easy.
Absolutely.
What did you say, Monday?
Monday for realtors, whenever your top 50 VIPs, you're going to call a quarter of them. Okay. So if you've got 50, you're calling 12 on Mondays.
We are looking for excuses to call our clients. I don't know if like this makes sense. Who thinks calling your clients twice a year is like too much? What do y'all? I would love to hear from a realtor what they think the magic number is.
4 to 6.
4 to 6. That's once a quarter to once every 2 months. Yeah.
Anybody think that's too much? We got a lot of quiet people in the room. I'd love to hear.
How about online?
Or online.
Yeah, online. How many times should you call your clients in a year?
Does everybody agree 4 to 6?
Got a 4 right there from Daniel. 4 times a year.
So ABC calls get them twice. To call them on their birthday, call them on their anniversary. That's 4 times. Anniversary of when they belong. I love calling around Thanksgiving and for everybody who closed that year to say the week of Thanksgiving, I call everybody I've done work for in the year and just say, Thanksgiving week, I want to let you know I'm thankful for you. We helped you with your low back in March. I'm appreciative that you let us help you out. What do you get? What's y'all's plans for Thanksgiving? It's shocking how many people answer the phone that week because they're kind of at work but not working. And they say, oh, that is so kind. Really appreciate you calling. How are you guys doing? What's your family up to? And we have a little conversation, which is really cool. But we're looking for excuses. We're looking for reasons to call. So the more you're touching your client, the more likely they are to come back or to refer you. That's the name of the game.
Yeah. So one of the objections that we always hear, and it's legitimate because people have this worry, but what about people you haven't spoken to in a few years? Anybody have a fear of like, man, I don't want to call that guy because I sold him a house 4 years ago and I've done a poor job of following up. Anybody have that fear? It's a common fear, right? So the answer is people think a whole lot less. People think about you a whole lot less than you think. Just call them, right? They're not thinking, oh, Dawn hasn't called me. I'm so mad at her. Like, they're just glad to hear from you, right? Like, oh yeah, my realtor, I remember my realtor was great. What's her name? And then you call like, oh, that's right. She did a great job. And we are thinking about moving because, man, we got all this equity here. We got a family that's growing. We got a family that's moved out. We want to downsize. Like, people are constantly thinking about moving and changing their housing.
So people think we get our own way. That's all this is. Oh man, if I call Josh, I haven't talked to him in 45 years, he's gonna be mad at me. Josh hadn't thought about me in 4 or 5 years, I haven't reached out to him, so he don't care. Or we think, I just called him like 6 months ago, or his birthday was 4 months ago, and I called, he don't want to hear from me again. Guess what? If you don't want to talk to me, you don't answer the phone. Right? Like, I never have a client answer the phone like mad and like, why did you call me? And I said, I'd probably be like, well, why did you pick up? I mean, like, if you're in traffic right now, no one talk, no answer. But it never happens, right? But what do I tell myself? I mean, I really don't want to do that. I called him 6 months ago. I'm just kidding. We give ourselves excuses. We give ourselves an out so we don't have to do the work. And instead of just saying, no, I'm just going to, like, today I'm calling people whose last name starts with M. So Roy McGinty's getting a call. I'm calling him up. He don't talk, he don't answer. But we make excuses and we get our own way, which is exactly what that is. We think people are thinking about us. They aren't, right? So
My realtor texts me every once in a while too, which I
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to answer the phone
Yeah.
every time she calls.
So,
But I really appreciate the text.
so there's, you can have that in a system where you can send those texts and check in on people. So if you have more than 300 people in your database, use phoneburner.com. Okay. Has anybody heard of PhoneBurner? Anybody use PhoneBurner? PhoneBurner taking your phone out and either searching for a name and clicking on the name and clicking dial and then, picking the phone up and talking. It dials the number. So if you've got, let's say you're going to make 20 calls today, it will call the number. It'll ring until it goes to voicemail or you talk to them. Then when you hang up, it automatically dials the next number for you. There is no searching for the next number, clicking, finding, 9 digits, call, all that stuff. It does it for you. It cuts down on your call time. You can call 20 people, probably half the time. You can call 20 people.
Once you finish a session, it'll say estimated amount of time saved. So if you've been on the phone for 2 hours, it may say, you've saved 42 minutes. Meaning it would have taken you 2 hours and 42 minutes had you not used the system. Because it takes away how to hit the button, search for the new number and hit it, or type it in.
Leave the voicemail.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you don't want me thinking.
You don't have to think about it.
Think about it. And what happens after you made a phone call, you talk to somebody for 5-6 minutes and you finish?
I'm gonna go get another cup of coffee.
I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee. I'm coming
Check
back
my
from
email.
coffee, and it's like, Chris, man, you catch the game last night.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
then 20 minutes goes by, and it's like, I should make that second phone call. But phone burner, you hang up.
And also
the next person
emails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it texts now too.
Right.
So
What happens if you hang up though? You have stuff popping on your computer
Mhm.
that goes, oh, but if this is calling, it's calling the next person. I can't go, oh, let me
Check that email.
check that email
Yeah,
or
right.
get.
It keeps you on task,
Keeps you on task.
which is exactly what you said. It keeps you from saying, I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee and get distracted for 30 minutes. Because that's what happens. Right?
Especially
It doesn't
after.
me, maybe I'm the other person.
Especially-
We're, you and me, right here.
All right, guys. So
And phone burner is like 60 or 80 bucks a month. So it's not expensive.
so calls. This is the 2 times a year that you call, or maybe up to 4 times a year, depending on what your system is going to be. This is a voicemail script, and 70% of the time you're going to be leaving voicemails. Okay. And you're definitely welcome to take pictures. If you want this stuff, just let us know. We'll send you this information. If you use PhoneBurner, you can actually set it to where they get this standard voicemail every time. So you don't actually have to say the words over and over. Okay. So this is just a script that you can use if you want to, but hey, this is your name from your company. I helped you with your real estate needs in the past. I just want to give you a quick thanks for letting me help you. If you ever have any real estate or mortgage questions, depending on which side you're on, please give me a buzz. The best number to reach me is you want to call your office or your cell phone. Up to you. Hope all is well and hope to talk to you soon. Oh, also, if you have any friends or family members that can use some honest help, can I count on you to give me a call about that too? I'll be honored to help you. I'll talk to you when you call back. Bye.
What is that? Here's a way to call and just go to voicemail. How do you do that?
Slide broadcast.
Slide around.
There's slide dial, which you can slide dial one person and it goes straight to their voicemail. You can slide broadcast, which is where you drop one voicemail to multiple people and it doesn't ring on their end. And we use that for like invites to our client events and stuff like that, just so that we make sure everybody gets an invite.
I used it for when, rates have dropped in 2020.
Yeah.
And I used it like a few times to my past database to say, hey, rates are low, might be a great idea, take a look at refinancing. And I spent like $20 on setting it up like to the database. I probably closed 25 deals out at that point.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So if you,
It's not bad.
if you have an event or something coming up, or if, let's just say, man, I haven't called my database in forever, you can use slide broadcast just to get a voicemail out there and then go back in a week and start actually physically calling them, right?
I think it's really good for events. And I think when you're doing your annual call or your every 6-month call, you want to talk to them. So like you don't want to just drop a voicemail, you can have a conversation. Pre-recording a voicemail, and what happens with PhoneBurner is when it hits their voicemail, you can click a button and it'll allow you to just drop that in and it'll immediately read the next person, or you can leave a voicemail. So you get to pick and choose because I'm calling somebody who's like one of my better friends, and I say, hey, this is Clint Haynes over here with preferred rate. They're gonna be like, that was really strange. Like, why did, we were roommates in college. Why did he
Right.
do that? Right, so they're probably gonna say, what happened? Like, why did you not know you were calling me, or was that recorded? So if it's a buddy, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna leave a voicemail for my buddy. When it's a client, that's probably how I'm gonna leave a voicemail, even if I have to say it every time. So there's a time and a place to use that. But I think phone burner or just physically calling that's the goal. Like, it's way harder to get a referral from a voicemail than having a conversation, showing genuine interest in someone. And then at the end, asking like, hey, by the way, keep me in mind if you know somebody else who wants to buy right now, let me help them out.
And I think
Because that's the goal, is to get a referral from these calls.
well, whether you're leaving a voicemail doing this live broadcast or you're actually talking to somebody, I think of a point right now that you could leverage with the current market is the fact that, interest rates, even though they've come up, values have also come up. So cash out refinance or tapping into a home equity line of credit to be able to reposition their equity into like an investment property.
Yeah.
Now a lot of people have all this equity and it's just sitting there. If they could diversify it and make it
Yeah.
work for them.
How many of y'all have clients you sold a house to in 2018 and have a little bit of equity in their house? Right? Like they can take cash out, whether it's a cash out refinance or a home equity line of credit, and go buy another piece of real estate. Who thinks that Nashville real estate will continue to appreciate in the short term? Right? Unless something happens with world events, a 9/11 event, something like that, unless something knocks the whole world off course, with inflation and with Nashville doing what it's doing, you're going to probably see strong appreciation in Nashville for the next foreseeable future, really until something changes.
And
So
it's just, everybody wants to talk about real estate right now. Like when I get a pass line on the phone, what's happening with rates? What do you think's good? Should I sell right now? Is now a good time? Like, everybody's interested. It's a hot topic with, what's the Fed gonna do? How's that gonna affect things? Like, everybody's got questions. Nobody actually understands it. So people will pick up or call you back just because it's such an important topic right now.
you did a live answer.
Yeah, so is this sport?
Kinda. We have a different one than Ford, but
Yeah, so I don't use this one. I can read it or we can skip the Ford anyway. We use what we call a Ford script. So Ford is an acronym, I think, that stands for Family Occupation Recreation Dream. So regardless of who I'm calling, whether it's somebody I talk to regularly or a client that I only talk to a couple times a year, and the truth is, you may have a past client from 3 years ago that you've only talked to once since closing because call, get voicemail, you call and catch up at lunch and they don't have time to talk. And 2 or 3 years goes by before you actually have a real conversation. But it's just starting off by saying, hey, this is Clint over here with preferred rate. Hadn't talked to you in a while. How have you been doing? And the answer is like, well, hey, what's going on with your family? I know, what have you guys been in the house for 2 years? Like, how are things? Right? They answer, kids are doing this, wife, husband's doing that. Oh, that's awesome. So like, what grades are they in? You just ask genuine questions about their family, right? What about work? How are things going with work? What are you up to? Like, are you still over it? Fill in the blank. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Answer those questions, right? Recreation. So, summer's coming up, spring break's coming up. What are you guys getting into? You still boating? You still fishing? Whatever, right? So it's a conversation where you're just asking questions about family, occupation, recreation. It almost never gets all the way through Ford to dreams, like the last one. Because most of the time they say, well, what about you? What's going on with your family? Like, I see on Facebook you got another kid, or I see on blah, blah, that this is going on, right? You ask them about work, they're like, well, tell me about rates, blah, blah, blah. And usually before you can get to the third or fourth one, it's like, well, hey, I gotta go, or hey man, we've been thinking about refinance, or we've been thinking about selling and buying. What's your opinion? Oh, well, it depends on what your goals are, but right now would be an awesome time if you're looking to buy your forever home, to sell the one you have now and move up to that forever home. Have you talked to your realtor lately? Like, let me connect you with Troy because he can tell you what yours is worth and how much you'll get from it. Oh yeah, man. Like, yeah, let me talk to my wife. But yeah, dude, have me a call this afternoon. I'll talk to my wife and we'll get with you about that.
So I want to make a couple quick points. Who's uncomfortable? Like sometimes a client from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and you don't remember a lot about their family. You don't remember the kids and the dogs and all that stuff. And you're like, man, I want to have a forward conversation. So a big realtor came and he did he spoke with us at a lunch and learn, and he asks about the house. He's like, hey, they know me as their house guy. I'm their realtor. I don't remember everybody that we've ever done a transaction with, but they do remember me as the realtor. So you can also just say, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Hey, tell me about the house. Have you guys done any major upgrades? Have y'all painted? Everybody does something to the house, right? Unless they buy a brand new one, they're going to come in, they're going to knock down a wall, or they're going to paint something or rip out some carpet. Hey, tell me what you guys are doing with the house. You guys put in a pool in 2020 like everybody else? Like, what's going on with the house? That's a great way to do it. And then guys, I want to make this point. Like, when you work with somebody on our team, we do all this stuff. So when they come back to us, if you're not doing it, it's a great way to get the business back to you, right? All the time we have somebody call us back 2, 3, 4 years. Oh, hey, you worked with Natalie. Yeah. Have you talked to her yet? Well, no, I hadn't talked to her or whatever. Maybe they have. But if they haven't, we're like, we definitely want to get you reconnected, right? By doing all these systems, it helps us keep our realtor's business growing too.
It depends on like your style. Like Chris was mentioning that I'm just the house guy, like the realtor. He was doing like 300 real estate transactions a year. So it's really hard to keep up with that many people over years. But also that's just his personality, right? Like, I'm just a house guy, man. I don't remember your kids' names. If that's your personality, then go that route. But if it's not, if your style is, no, we were in real relationship. You came to me not because of I'm the only realtor in town, but because you trust me because of our relationship. Then on that. Does anybody do that? Is that intimidating to anybody?
I kind of like a lot of past clients, they feel embarrassed because they haven't called me either. So, I kind of get past that fear of a lot of times, oh, I'm so sorry, I know we were, I mean, you all are very close for a pretty good length of time, and they, so they feel just as guilty as you are, not calling them.
Yeah.
That close. So.
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Like, they have the thing, this goes back to what we tell ourselves. Like, the story we tell ourselves is, well, man, they feel a certain way that they haven't called. And when we talk to them, it's like, yeah, man, I apologize for not staying in touch with you either. It's like, why are you? I'm the sales guy. Like, I'm the one who got paid when you bought the house. Like, so if we stop telling ourselves the stories, we'll do the actions that actually make us the most money.
I have a lot of power too in setting the expectation of how often they can expect to hear from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not bizarre for me to do so because I told them I come up the house, I do annual real estate reviews with you, just like setting the expectations of the transaction, setting the expectation of what we're gonna look like post closing is really powerful.
So that after closing call, any time in the transaction, that after closing call, things we do is say, hey, look, we're not going anywhere. So if you have questions in 6 days or 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, like, we're going to be here, so call us. We're going to be staying in touch with you about your events and stuff. So yeah, when it happens, they're not like, well, what's Mitch calling me for? Like, we closed 6 months ago. It's like, no, I told you we're going to do that. And then I'm just following through on the promise. Then it kind of set the expectation, then you kind of have to follow through to keep the promise that you made.
And you can do the same thing on clients, if you haven't been doing this, on clients in the past that you haven't called in 5 years, 6 years. You can call and say, I'm so sorry, like you're saying, apologize, and say, hey, going forward, I'm going to do a better job of staying in touch with you.
Yeah.
If that's cool with you.
Yeah.
And set that expectation and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if you do it again, you need to prove it out because they're in the database and
That's
you don't
right.
like doing it.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So scheduling it.
Yeah, then the key is setting time blocks in place for any call, whether it's you're calling a past client or cold calling or calling current clients that are pre-approved. If you don't put it in the calendar, almost nothing happens, right? So pre-block it. I think that at least an hour a day, and depending on your list, like I have, when I'm calling past clients, it's a big block because I do the letter week. I don't just say 10 weeks or 20 like Chris mentioned. I say a letter. So some weeks it's 10 names and some it's like 3 pages. And it may take me 2 weeks. That's okay. I'll just get called up. But it's easy for me to remember, okay, last week was H and now next week is going to be the next letter.
You have to say alphabets, don't they?
Yeah, I've got to say it in my head. But time blocking it is everything. And we're talking about sales, if you don't time block it, it won't happen.
If you have the time block and let's say you get to a Z week, like you need to be making 10 calls a day. That's really the simple thing I've read. You know, we're giving you a really great plan if you can do it. But if you can just make 10 outbound calls a day to your past clients, your database, your friends, your family, and have that conversation. How are you doing? I want you to think about me when it comes to real estate. I want to be your realtor. Is there anything I can help you with? Hey, can I count on you if you run across somebody to let me know so I can help them? If you have that conversation, you make 10 calls, 6 voicemails, 4 talk tos every day. You think that's going to grow your business over time? All right. What happens is you'll do it. Most realtors will do it for, man, I'm pumped up, I'm motivated, 3 days, 2 weeks. And then they get a couple deals in the pipeline. Now I'm working this deal. I've got these other things coming in. The appraisal came in short. The inspection is butchered because, you know, the seller don't want to fix anything. Now I got to deal with that. I don't have time to make my 10 calls today. I get off track and they stop doing it. Right. So their business goes up, more closings, working on the closings, business goes down. Oh, shoot, business is down. Now I'm gonna go back to making my calls. If you'll just make a minimum of 10 calls every day, your business will go up and you'll stay up and you'll be able to grow a team if you want to grow a team and really be able to maximize your business. So
10 calls or 10 talk tos?
10 talk tos would be better, but I think most realtors don't do 10 calls. Like majority of realtors don't even make 10 outbound calls every day. Now there may be some days you make 20, but you get to Wednesday and you're busy, you make 0.
What doesn't count is I'm calling title to see if this thing came back. I'm
Right.
calling up with the inspector and see if they got the thing back in. The worst turn, like, well, let me call. Those don't count as 30 calls. That's still 0. Like it's gotta be 10. And
Prospect.
I would say most realtors don't get 10 a week.
Yeah.
Anybody, like, what
Most
do you
lenders don't do
say
that.
the average is on a weekly basis, outbound sales calls for your industry?
They say it's less than 1 hour a week spent prospecting is the average realtor spends less than 1 hour per week.
Yeah.
So you can spend just an hour a day. That's 5 hours right there, right? And then when you get that 5 hours, it's going to generate more FaceTime, more showings, more listings, and then you're busy. Okay.
Emails, you want to cover what we do?
Yeah, email in your database once a week. Go ahead and click through. I think it's got some stuff. So we do not send, you guys get things to do in Nashville emails from us? You guys get that? The things to do in Nashville? Miss Robin puts in a lot of work on that. That is not
Yes, she
something
does.
we pay for. It's not a service. Robin goes to several different websites and figures out what's going on in Nashville. Nashville's an easy place. Let me give you a really cool, easy tip. Get on our list. Forward our email to your people. All right? Take our email, take our name off of it. We don't want any credit. Robin's going to send it out every Thursday. What an easy way to just say forward, blank copy, my list, boom, boom. Here it goes out to 300 people. So the first thing is and this is not just our opinion. I get a ton of newsletters I get my financial advisor sends me market update.
You ever read it?
No, not ever. I love my financial advisors. No offense. But if I want a market update, I'm going to go to the news, CNN News or Money Watch or something and see what's going on that minute, right? So don't send real estate info. It's boring. So we put the what's happening, fun tips, stuff like that. So that's the email that we send out. It's once a week. You can also mix it up with video marketing, right? We can do a what's happening in Nashville, maybe put a video embedded in it. Like, hey, I'm actually going this weekend. I know Dude Perfect's coming to Nashville July 3rd. So that'll be a cool one we can do. I'm trying to get tickets. That stuff is expensive. If you've ever heard of Dude Perfect, but it's
What
kind of Dude Perfect. It's these guys that do these funny videos. It's kind of kid oriented. They shoot like half court shots and silly stuff, but
Like basketball shots from the canyon.
yeah, basketball shots over. I don't know how they do it live. I've heard people that've gone to it say it's really cool even live because they take a shot for a day till they hit it, and then they show the 3 seconds that they actually make a shot. You're right, and they just sit there. We're gonna shoot the shot 1,000 times and finally make one. So I don't know what they do, but also, guys, there's some pre-written email campaigns like followmyclientsnow.com. Your brokerage probably has this stuff, right? When you close, you can put them into like your CRM and say this is a closed client, and then they're gonna get these things like 3 tips to upgrade your house in the spring, and they'll get something of value that's done for you.
So we have the idea of send something weekly that's not real estate related or mortgage related. And I thought, man, once a week, that's way too much. And then I thought people are gonna not like it and subscribe. And then we started doing it, and I had people replying like, hey, clients, they would say, hey, never stop doing this. Like, I love getting this email. And we're not saying, hey, refer us, hey, here's what rates are doing, hey, you should sell and buy, you should buy that. Nothing mortgage related in it. It's shocking how many people reply like, I love that y'all do this. Like, never stop doing it.
That, I was gonna say that too, and they'll respond to that email.
Yeah.
Hey, what are rates doing right now? See what we're financing.
Or
Find another property.
I've had people reply from that email from 3 months ago, like today. So they're replying to the October email of what's going on in Nashville with, hey, I need to sell my house. Because they typed in my name and that's what popped up, and they just found that email and hit reply. It's crazy. But it's all real estate is top of mind. If they think about you at the right time, they'll call you and do their deal.
Well, one other thing though with email is home buy. You know,
Yeah.
it's not real estate related, but specific on their
Talked
investment.
about that yesterday, Dan. You set up a home buy, right? So home buy, guys, and we don't even have a slide on home buy. Home buy, if you have been in the business and you have any database of past clients that you've worked with, home buy is the biggest no-brainer. It's $25 a month. You partner with us if you want to on it. If you don't partner with us, you don't have to. It costs more. We pay the majority of the cost. The emails come from you. It's branded to you. It goes to your clients. If you partner with us and they ask a mortgage-related question, it comes to us. So we're kind of down in the corner, but it gives them awesome information. It's kind of like Zillow, right? It's not perfectly accurate, which is actually okay. Because sometimes people are like, hey, my stuff's off. Well, great. Why do you care what your house is worth on this? Are you looking to sell? Are you thinking about doing something? But guys, if they go to Zillow, what happens?
They get marketed to.
Other market.
Yeah, Zillow is nothing but a marketing platform. They're trying to get your money for ads. They're trying to sell buyer information for the top dollar. It is a marketing platform. So for $25 a month, you can try to steer your clients back to your portal, which is HomeBot. And it has way more tools than Zillow. It talks about, it gives them their specific, what they owe, because it'll go into the tax records and say you bought in 2018 on a 30-year. If you've made your
principal, how much
principal balance,
interest.
how much interest you're paying. They estimate the interest rate. HomeBot doesn't know the interest rate, but they know what rates were in May of 2018.
They usually put that.
Sometimes they'll put it in.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes
if
it's
you're more
accurate, sometimes-
interested, that's something like get with your individual loan officer, because I think everybody in our office uses it or knows about it. So get with the loan officer, they can show you exactly how it works and how it's done. Hard, like mail in the mail, right? Receiving something in the mail once a month. We teach to either do an evidence of success or a letter from the heart monthly. Evidence of success is a postcard, and it's kind of logical.
Yeah, so
This would be an evidence of success, right? So it's a little postcard. Matt and Doug were great from the beginning until closing. They were on top of everything, very proactive and responsive to our questions and needs. We couldn't have been happier with the service they provided. So this would be something that Matt and Doug would send out to their database. And it's just a reminder of how great they are, right? 5-star review.
For realtors, you could be like, hey, I listed this house and we got 50,000 over asking and sold it in 2 days with 27, whatever, right? And if you didn't do that, you could say, in my office, this happened, right?
It could just be statistics on what's happening in the national market. It could be rates. It could be anything I always say it's logical, right? It's going to make you think about what we do, what's going on in the market, why it should cost. We'll sometimes try to send one out that's about a cash out refinance. Or what about a VA loan? And you'll almost always have somebody email or call in and say, I didn't know you guys did VA loans. I need, my cousin is moving here and he needs a VA. I'll have him call you. It's like, oh, well, the reason you don't know what I do is because I haven't communicated it well enough on my database, right? But we do USDA, we do refinances. Chris, you ever had somebody not use you for a refinance? They bought the house, used you, and then said, oh man, I didn't know you guys did refinances. I thought y'all were just working purchase lenders.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's my fault. I should have communicated better that we do refinances as well. The letter from the heart would be very different. It is not about, I'm going to click it. It is not about like the logical side of we do USDA loans and this is what it is. It is here is what's going on in my life, or here's what my family is up to, or here's something I've been thinking about lately. So,
Yeah, it was about baseball. It says, what season of life are you in? And just talked about coaching and just some things. You know, I'm always writing about something with my kids, right? Because that's what engulfs my life outside of work. Super busy with that. I personally always have a Bible verse because I want that to show through with you know, the folks that I work with. I want them to know who I am. I heard one person, you know, it's called the letter of the heart. I heard one person describe it as, I'm a real person letter, right? Sometimes they see you as like the broker owner at, you know, at the real estate agency, and like, you know, this guy that sold me a house 5 years ago. Well, Troy's a real person too, right? He's got a wife, he's got 3 boys, and they're getting married. He's got grandkids on the way maybe soon. All kinds of fun stuff. So, you know, the I'm a real person letter, it makes you where they feel like they know you, right? When they come back to you, it's like, oh, I know this person. It's not just the guy that sold me the house.
I always say that if you got 2 clients that are married, one of them is going to see the evidence of success and go, oh man, I want to read about like the market. That same person probably get evidence of the letter from the heart and go, and this is too many words, and throw it away, right? But that other spouse is going to see the evidence of success and go, I don't even, this hurts my brain to read these charts. The other one will look at that same person will pick up the letter from the heart and go, whoa, don't put it away. I want to see those pictures. What are those kids up to, right? They only care about the relationship. It's like the right brain, left brain type of thing. So if you only do one, you're missing the other half of the clients, right? So if they just a single client, they only read half of what you send out. But if you don't send the other half, then they're not going to read your stuff. So you want to kind of connect with both. And it's shocking how many people, for me personally, know what's going on in my life, because I send a letter from the heart more frequently than I do the other. And I mean, weekly people will ask me about my kids or about something that I've been doing. And the only reason they know it is because I've written about it, because I'm not super active on social media. And when I call clients, I don't like tell them everything that's going on in my life unless they ask. So they read this stuff. And it's crazy. I didn't think it would be this much, like it would have helped my business the way that it has. But this is the one that nobody does. Nobody does the letter from the heart because it's harder to write.
The first one's harder to write. And like the first one could be like an apology letter, like, oh, I haven't kept in touch with you, I'm sorry. But after you start writing them, they're not that hard. Like you just like think, well, what's been going on in life? Hey, we took a trip to Disney World. Let's talk about that. Or we've been coaching the kids in this, we've been doing that. Or the kids are struggling in school. You know, I'm not the only one, whatever, right? Like you can talk about all that kind of stuff.
Not real estate.
It's not real estate. Yeah, I never talk about the market in the letter of the heart. That's the evidence of success. That's the postcard.
Farming is the other type of mailer that you can do. I really think if you're not doing all the other stuff, don't do this. Like do this last. Don't skip over all the stuff that's going to have you closing a super high percentage and go to the one that's going to be the lowest percentage and the most
Costs the most money.
Like that's a bad business decision. It's the easiest because it doesn't require you to pick up the phone or have a conversation to build a relationship. You can just pay somebody to send out their mailer to Willoughby Station. So it's the easiest, it costs the most, it's the least effective and with the worst return. But people don't actually pick up the phone and make phone calls or talk to people, so we go straight to farming. And that's my opinion.
Yeah. There was a couple other ideas back, a couple slides back on mailing. At Christmas time, we mail a Merry Christmas card. Usually has a picture, you know, of us with Santa Claus, and a $5 Starbucks. Like if you've ever closed a deal with me,
And a calendar.
And a calendar, yeah, magnet calendar, right? So if you ever close a deal with me ever, you're gonna get a $5 Starbucks gift card at Christmas. And I've got people like, oh, I just love the $5 Starbucks. You know, now I won't even buy you a full cup to get you a grande or something. You can't get a venti anymore.
And when
Right.
people call and ask us when we're sending out the calendar.
Yeah.
They flip the.
They love the
really
calendars.
want that tiny little.
That little calendar.
that goes on
And if
with
you
it.
have the magnet, right, it's got a magnet. So if they stick you on the fridge, you're there for a whole year. It costs you $4 for a magnet calendar, right? $3. They're not
Yeah, I didn't know
expensive.
that.
I think it makes it really easy for people to, I've had a lot of people in the past say, yeah, I've seen your face on my friend's fridge and I'm now buying a house, I'm finally calling you, like, you don't know who I am, but I've seen your face for like months. It's like, well, that's weird, but thank you.
We had somebody that we had never met, that we'd sent the calendar
From out of town or something.
Yeah, he's moved from out of town or something. He came to the office like, oh, Chris, and he knew me. He's like, oh, we've never met, but I know you because you're calendar, right? Because like the stuff that I send out, my face was familiar to.
So I had an inspector call me and shoot me a picture. He was at somebody's
Yeah.
house doing an inspection and said, hey, here you are on their fridge. And I was like, that's
I've had that happen. Like somebody's like, oh, I went to my buddy's house. And same thing, send a picture of me on the fridge. It's like, my joke is like, yeah, stick me on the fridge. I'll watch you make breakfast every morning.
Well, yeah. Well, Brittany on my team, she was making a sandwich. She made a post about this. She was making a lunch or something. She goes, here I am making lunch. And my boss is looking over my shoulder, at me. And she made a post. She goes, let me know if you want one of these. This was just like a week ago. And we got a bunch of responses. Send me one, send me one.
Nice.
So yeah, people do like those.
Even evidence of successes we've sent out, something that's not necessarily evidence of success. One time we sent out another magnet that was a regular envelope size mailer that had kitchen conversions on it. And I have that one, I don't know if your favorite still.
Yeah, it says like pints to gallons and
Just something
teaspoons to
that's good
tablespoons.
information to send out.
Yep.
Stays right there.
That's right.
Other ideas.
Other ideas to keep in contact. Of course, there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. If you should be active on that. You can hire people to really make it interactive. There's a lot that goes into being successful on these social platforms. I know Troy's been making a bigger effort. I see videos of him and his wife, putting stuff out there on Facebook. Do you get much traction off that? You get
Start to.
Yeah, it takes time, it takes effort. And one thing that you can do too is your database, the people that you're marketing to, you can make them a target within Facebook. Did you know that? You can put the 200 people that you know as a target audience, and for what, $10,
Mhm.
10, $15,
Whatever.
you post a video and all 200 are going to see it. Because if you just post it, 10 of them see it, 20 of them see it, depends on how much traction it gets. They don't all see it. You can pay a few bucks and everybody gets to see your video. Hey, I sold a house. Let me talk about this house we've got listed. And all 200 people are like, oh, Dawn's being very active on Facebook. Dawn's like, man, I've always seen Dawn, right? You guys probably see me a lot. You probably see Clint a lot because we have that and we use it. So
Autumn's a pro at TikTok, right? In Reels.
TikTok and Reels, that's the new one, right? Reels had the Reels.
A lot of fun.
E-newsletter, like we kind of said, just kind of stay away from that. The e-newsletter needs to be things to do in Nashville, right? Anybody we don't really read the e-newsletter. Always send a thank you note for referrals, right? If you get a referral, just take your time and say, hey, thanks so much for sending Joe over to us. We're looking forward to working with you. Handwritten notes. And then happy hours, monthly mixers. That's where you can, have a get together once a month, once every 2 months, once a quarter, and invite your top 50, anybody who refers you, your favorite clients, people who are in process, and you have a little get together. We used to do this all the time right there. Anybody ever come to Buffalo Wild Wings and hang out with us? Yeah, we used to do that, right? I have basketball or baseball practice almost every night now. So it gets really hard. Like since November, the only night.
He's kids. He's coaching.
No, I'm still trying to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get a look from a scout here soon. It's the kids. Literally the only night of the week we don't have something is Friday nights. So we haven't, in fact, past few years, we haven't done that nearly as much. I always enjoyed it. And I always took my kids, right? I'm not going to have it at a, like an actual bar. We'd have it at Buffalo Wild Wings. My kids would be running around and fighting in the floor and all kinds of stuff. But we had a big time. We'd have 5 or 6 people show up sometimes. We've had 20 and 30 people show up, right? And we would always pay for appetizers and non-alcoholic beverages. So I'm not going to get everybody drunk and send them home and pay for full meals. But, for a couple $100, you get to hang out with your favorite people and have a get together. And I'm always going to say this, and this is probably more about the client events, which we're about to talk about. The power is in the invite. You invite somebody to a movie day, 90% cannot come. Literally, I just told you invite me to anything except Friday night. I've probably had a conflict for the last 4 months, right? So you invite somebody to a movie day, man, I got soccer, kids got basketball, kids got baseball, there's stuff going on. But thank you for the invite. I've actually had, it's really funny to me, I've had a couple people unsubscribe from an invite to a free movie. I'm like, man, you must be a really, yeah, you must be you must have been a bad day for somebody to invite you to something free and have a negative response to that. But 99.9% of people, you invite them to something of value for free, they're going to be like, this is awesome. Thank you.
So here are ideas for climate events. So we do a movie day every year, have for a long time. Environmental day,
Nice.
where, well, and for movie day, what we do is rent out we'll have 2 theaters at Providence, 3 global.
The last 2 years been a little weird. This is our first year in 3 that we're doing it here because of COVID. We had to do last year at the drive-in in Lebanon. So.
Wait, there were things in town that were a little weird the past couple of years? No.
Only here. You can do an environmental day where people are like bring their stuff to shred or bring like, I think they pill bottles, you can bring pill bottles and recycle. Food drive, picnic, like a picnic at the park and say, hey, bring canned foods that we're gonna end up giving to the local food banks. Things like that where it's fun, but people can feel like they're giving back. You can do an open house, free car wash, pizza party, baseball game, day at the park. We don't have
Ice cream social.
Ice cream social, trunk or treat. You can have something at your house. You don't invite your top 50, and literally like 12 will show up probably. There's hundreds of ideas to pick from. The key is picking something and putting it on the calendar. Because when you think I'm going to do a soundscape and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and now there's 2 weeks left in the season. I'm going to do that next year. That's a good idea. I'm going to do it next year. You have to put it on the calendar and plan it out and go ahead and pay for it, and then it'll actually get done.
Who does a client event every year? Show of hands.
So
Nobody. Oh, you got one. Aaron does it.
So
very cool.
What stops us from doing it?
Planning it.
Working it, and getting it going.
Awesome. What about any realtors? What stops y'all from doing it? Sorry.
I need clients to invite.
Clients to invite. Newer in real estate.
Yeah.
Right.
I did, I've been doing the past, I don't know that I call it a client event. I invite my past clients and friends, and I get a big handful of them that show up, but been doing a Halloween brunch.
Very cool. That's a client event. Absolutely.
Okay.
Anything you're inviting clients to, there you go. So
Check.
the reason we want to bring this up is we do trunk or treat at our office, and you can piggyback on it. Have you done that, Dawn? Yeah. So if you want to do a client event, the easiest one of the year is done for you. It's a trunk or treat at our office. You advertise. You don't advertise us. You advertise at the Chamber of Commerce because our office is downstairs in the Chamber of Commerce. We block off the back parking lot. We probably had 25, 30 trunks.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Maybe 30,
Easy,
40
30.
trunks last year. It was getting really big, and then COVID hit, and slowed it down for a couple of years. Last year was good again. And this year we want to make it really big. But all you have to do is invite your database to a client event, decorate your trunk with some cobwebs and, put a mask on, put your sign in there and buy some candy. Right? So
I won't do it.
What?
Won't do it.
Won't do it. So there's 2 big objections to normally we hear about doing a client event. Number one, it's just too much work to plan and execute and make it happen. That's done for you. The second one is the cost. This is the cheapest client event you'll ever do. It's $100 in candy. $100.
$150 to decorate your trunk and buy
And number 3, that no one's going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Even if nobody does, there's going to be hundreds of people there because we invite all our people. There's other realtors. There's going to be a bunch of realtors there with their, sign in the back of their car. There's going to be title companies there. It's an event, and people come and like, oh, and Troy invited me to this event. This is a big deal. And Troy's like, heck yeah, I put all this on. Right? Take credit for it. That's why we do it. So you can take credit and have a client.
Give you social media posts as well.
Social media posts. Take your pictures. Thanks for coming out.
Do we know what day it is? It'll be a week or 2 before.
It's the week of Halloween.
Week of Halloween.
Unless Halloween's on Monday. We usually have it the Monday before.
Yeah.
It's the 24th.
So
So it's 1 week before Halloween on the 24th.
24th. Perfect. Birthday program for your top 50. Handwritten birthday note with a small gift and a phone call.
Have you guys ever heard of Thanks?
Nope. What is it?
THNKS.
THNKS. What is that?
It is an app that you can send either via email or text message. Thank you gifts like cup of coffee,
Very cool.
Grubhub lunch, Chipotle.
Yeah.
And they're great for birthday gifts or referral gifts, like, hey, thanks for connecting me with so-and-so.
Yeah.
Because it's about rewarding
Yeah.
the behavior, not necessarily the closing.
Right. So THNKS.
THNKS.
THNKS for you guys online. It's an app you can send thank you gifts. What we do for birthdays, guys, we send a free cupcake from Nothing But Cakes, right? And those are nice cupcakes. They're $5 or $6 if you go buy one. But we only pay for certificates that are turned in, right? So we send out a bunch of them. I don't know how many get turned in, but a very low percentage actually go redeem them. And I also send a lotto ticket. Clint had somebody win 300 something bucks.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It was,
So, send out a lotto ticket. Somebody, I know one day, I mean, usually if they're $1 lotto tickets, usually the jackpot's 10 grand. One of these days, one of these years, somebody's gonna call me like, I hit 10 grand, right? I'll be like, that's awesome. But a little lotto ticket, something fun, a little free bunt cake. It's not expensive because, if you send out $5 Starbucks to everybody, it gets expensive and some of them don't get used, right? They get put in the car, it gets kind of wasted. So that's what we do. And that should be everyone in your database. You get the free bunt cake. That is what we do. You can pick something else and a lotto ticket. It's $1 for a lotto ticket, $1 for a card in the mail.
And
So
if you call, like, was it Nothing But Cakes?
Yep.
That we do it through, you call them, they specifically have this program
Yeah.
already designed.
we're the ones that set it up, I'm pretty sure. And now they'll do it for everybody.
We set it up and they have a template and they can just put your picture and your information on it.
Yep.
I know, like, going back to the negative self-talk. There's somebody in here that's going, I'm a dude, and calling some dude on his birthday is not something I'm gonna do, right? Anybody?
He's pointing at Troy, huh?
I'm pointing at Troy.
Keep picking on Troy.
Oh, man, is that?
No, well, don't do that. That would be good. You gotta call, like, we tell ourselves, oh man, I'm just gonna calling somebody on their birthday is weird. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I called a guy yesterday or 2 days ago. Yesterday, it was yesterday for sure. He was like, man, thank you. I called the two on my list were both past spots of mine, and both of them were like, thanks so much for calling. Like, it's so good to hear from you. It's so kind that you called me. I had a lady one time say, I can't believe you called me on my birthday. I will never use anybody else for mortgage other than you, like ever. Because I called her. It's crazy. But like, think about it. Who calls you on your birthday right
Your
Mom.
mom.
now? Anybody else? My sister
just sent me a text.
Yeah.
My sister calls, my aunt calls, like literally, I think I get like 3 calls. So when you call somebody on their
But no one
birthday,
really likes you at all.
so,
That's good.
back to the lunch run. It sticks out, right? You ever watch somebody's Facebook page and you see that they've gotten 300 happy birthdays on their Facebook page? How many of those stuck out? None. Like, just call them a voicemail. They'll get it. They'll be like, man, I can't believe they called me on birthday like that. I'm not calling it back, but that's really cool. And it sticks out more than the text message or the.
And especially on the VIPs, I have some of my VIPs on my calendar and it pops up. I called a guy, he answered the phone. He was in Turks and Caicos with his family. I was like, oh, hey man, I was just calling to wish you a happy birthday. And he's like, oh yeah, we just been cooking and we just cooked this, we're doing that. And we just, me and the wife just did a Sea-Doo tour this morning. It was like middle of the day. And I was like, and he was just telling me about, everything he's doing on his birthday. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I didn't mean to, interrupt your vacation, but he was very appreciative. And he's a past client that's done multiple loans, and that's why he's on the VIP list. So next one, guys, this is results. So if you work this system, this has been proven, this is actually a low percentage because it can be a lot higher. If you work this system, for every 100 people you have in your database, you should get 1 closing per month. So for every 100 people in your database, if you work it, now you got to be able to handle the business, right? If you got 500 people in your database, if you can't handle 5 closings a month, you don't have a team. You got to have a team to do 5 closings a month in real estate, right? So if you got 100 people in your database and you work this, you should get 1 closing per month from your database themselves or from referrals from your database. People that really work it, I've heard as high as like 2.9%. Guy had 1,000 people in his database. He was closing 29 loans a month out of his database, right? But he called them, he stayed in touch with them, he mailed to them, he emailed them, he did all the things, right? So this is very, very effective. Who has at least 100 people in their database? Who has at least 100 people in your cell phone? right? You know, you can go to your cell phone and go to contacts and that little number, if you have an iPhone, the number at the bottom underneath the Z will tell you how many contacts you have. Now I've got a bunch of duplicates. They got duplicated one time. I don't know how that happened. Like everything got triplicated.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, it definitely was not Robin before that. So and I'm trying to clean them up. Somehow they come back. So anyway, it'll tell you, right? If you got 1,000 people in your cell phone, I bet you 400 or 500 of them could be in your database. Like you're not going to call the guy in Arkansas that, you know, whatever, you're going to keep some of them out. But for every 100 you got, one closing a month. How awesome would that be to have 300 people in your database work this system and have 3 closings, 36 closings a year at $9,000 a pop, right? Did we do the math earlier? It's $27,000 a month. It's a lot of money. And it's there. You got to work it. You got to be able to close it, but it's there. So any questions about that? Anybody doubt that stat? Or does that sound in line or out of line?
Do you know how many deals you close from your database?
I don't have the exact number, but I would say at least half of our business, my business, comes from my past clients, right? They come back from emails. They come back from calls. Yeah, we had a lot of refis. And when the refis hit, I mean, people just called you back. Like, hey, you did my loan 3 years ago and I want a lower rate, you know? And for you guys with home prices where they are, they've got equity. Let's take some equity out and buy an investment. Let's, you know, sell that house, buy 2. There's all kinds of things that they can do.
Where is this magical market that you're selling one house and you buy 2?
You got the down payment for 2. And you may have to buy a little further out. You may have to find something that needs some work. It's not an easy thing, but so go back one. I think that was important. So the effect of sending frequency on an unsubscribe rate. Some people are like, man, if I email too much, they're going to unsubscribe from my emails. So you can't really read it, but this is the unsubscribe rate. It's is that 0.7%?
7%.
So if you email once a month, you're going to have a 0.7. Is that right? 0.7?
That's what it says.
0.7% unsubscribe rate. The more you email, if you do it 4 times a month, it drops down to like 0.3. If you email 10 times a month, it drops down to 0.2. So basically, once you are emailing once a week, your unsubscribe rate drops, and you're not going to get, people aren't going to unsubscribe from your emails. They're going to unsubscribe if you do it once a month. It's actually higher. Twice a month, actually higher unsubscribe rate. So basically, you can email quite a bit to your database and to your folks, and most people aren't going to unsubscribe. Some people will, and they're going to unsubscribe the first time you do it. That just is what it is. And that may be why that's so high, right? Some people are like, I don't want anything in my inbox. Unsubscribe to everything. So that first one that hits, you got those people. And then after that, people are going to let it come in. So write down, guys, the top, at least 3 things that you learned today that you are going to implement. What are 3 things that you can implement to close 6 extra deals in the next 6 months and get that new Ferrari down payment?
I'm gonna do a trunk or treat with Mitch.
Do a trunk or treat, absolutely.
I'll be there.
There's Aaron. Ask him to unmute and
Aaron,
share.
can you
his-
unmute?
Oh, let's see if we can hear him.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just sharing something that I'd heard the other day, just kind of to going along with this. There's something called the Easter egg approach. With Easter coming up, it's kind of appropriate. But when the kids are all standing there, they know the eggs are hidden. They know they're out there. It could be anything from the nasty licorice jelly bean all the way up to dollar bills. But they're not eager necessarily for what's what's inside the egg because of the spread, but they're eager for the hunt because they know they're going to find something. They're just ready to go out there and collect. And so if we look at that, all these opportunities for referrals and ways to get in touch with people and stay in touch with people, that's the hunt. And if you're eager to hunt, it's out there. You'll find one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. I used to run around and push the other kids down trying to get some Easter eggs. That's right. Very, very cool. So guys, a couple things, any other shares of what you're absolutely going to implement? If you're not mailing to your database, who's going to start mailing? If you're not emailing, who's going to take that things to do in Nashville email, turn around and make that your own and send it out. If you're not getting those, let us know. We'll get you on the list, right? And Robin probably spends an hour a week, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour a week, finding cool things to do in Nashville, right? She goes to several different websites and she's got links and she's got pictures. Hey, there's always 3 different things, right? There's something for the kids, maybe something for the parents, maybe something artsy, maybe something sports, date nights, stuff like that. We don't put the Titans game. Everybody knows about the Titans games, right? We don't put the hockey games. We're going to put stuff that you don't know about. The Johnny Cash museum's having a whatever, right? And she's going to put really cool stuff, in those emails. So HomeBot, if you're not doing HomeBot, you need to. I promise you will not regret it. Mitch, you have some really good success stories with some of your agents on HomeBot, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They've gotten deals that they wouldn't have gotten, referrals, people came back, turned into instant business.
Yeah, it's incredible because it can be utilized in many different ways, whether it's you're doing farming a neighborhood and you're putting a QR code on there to go back to your database, or your HomeBot ties them back in there. So you're maybe picking up some clients that just want to see what their home value is, and now they're in your HomeBot database. Had some that, did an open house and the client wanted to list their home. She got the name, number, email, call, email, text, no response. Said, you know what, I'm gonna look them up. Yes, they do own that house that they said they own. I'm just gonna put them in HomeBot. They got the email, immediately responded and said, is this really what you can sell my house for?
Yeah.
Let's set up a time for a listing.
Nice.
So it's
and clients, we're not trying to be deceptive, but they think that you've gone in and done this CMA and sent them this information. It's all done for you. Once you put them in, they're going to get an email once a month that says, this is your property update. If you want to see the value, you have to click and you'll get a little notification that says so-and-so clicked. Now, it doesn't say call them. It just says that they're in there. You can go in and see who's been clicking. If they want a CMA, if they want, how much equity do I have? What if I sold? What would I net? There's all kind of buttons they can click, and it's going to come to you.
If you've never seen it, you didn't need to see it. If you aren't interested in a lunch and learn or seeing HomeBot, we need to either do a lunch and learn.
Yeah.
We can talk about it. It's hard to see.
Right.
If you hear it, you can't really see what it looks like. It's a really good system.
Awesome. So we got everything. Everybody's got something written down to do. We got some giveaways. What we got? And how are we giving it away? Oh, any questions? Last slide.
So we need your help.
Cool. Any questions, guys? We do need your help. So we are not professional. As odd as that sounds, we're not professional speakers. I know you thought we were. You guys all paid a big cover to be here, right? Big ticket charge. So, guys, we would love to help you with your loan stuff, right? That's what we do. That's what we're good at. We have an amazing team. We've been doing it this is my 18th year, which is crazy. So if you have anybody that we have not pre-approved that you're working with, we would love the opportunity to talk to them. If they're already pre-approved, a lot of agents are like, oh no, I don't want to rock the boat. They're already pre-approved with Wells Fargo. Have them get a second opinion with us. They don't have to use us, but 9 out of 10 people, if they're pre-approved with a big bank, they will see value in what we offer as a loan lender, right? We would love to give them a second opinion. If they still choose to use Wells Fargo, you're going to have fun with that, trying to get everything done. But most of the time they won't. We'll give them that second opinion. So please fill that out and we'll do the drawing. If you don't